What is up, everyone? Welcome to Investing Club. In this video, I'm going to talk about my recent short position on Nikola stock. And what I'm betting on is a huge collapse in the price of Nikola shares. Now, in this video, first, I'm going to talk about why I think Nikola stock will fall over the next couple of weeks. And then secondly, I'm going to be talking about exactly how I went about shorting this stock and talking about my potential profit and my potential loss. So before we start this video, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, and you should always do your own research before buying or selling any stock. And so I took on this short position on Nikola through a put option, and this is an extremely risky thing to do. This has the potential to lose 100% of its investment, and there's a good chance it will. As we'll get to later in the video, I chose a far out strike price, so I'm planning on selling this before expiration anyway, but there's a very good chance that it won't get down to the strike price and my option would become worthless if I didn't sell it before the expiration. So I just want everyone to get that out there. I set aside a specific amount of money that I'm okay with losing, and that's what I'm using for this position. Definitely don't do this with any money you can't afford to lose, because again, it is very risky. And even though I have a guess of where I think Nikola shares will go, it's no guarantee. We've already seen it go up a lot more than most people thought, so there's no stopping it from going up even more. So I just want to get that out there. And I'm making this video because I want to share with you all what I'm doing, but don't take that to think everyone should do this. I'm doing this as a fun speculation and sort of a hedge with a very, very tiny piece of my portfolio that I am okay with losing 100% of. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so now let's get to why I think Nikola stock will crash over the next couple of weeks to a month. So just a quick recap of where we are. Here's the graph of Nikola, and back in May it was around $10-15, and it went up to over 90, and right now it's sitting at just above $60. So this stock has doubled like 4 or 5 times from the beginning of last month, which is just an insane run up, and their PE is 1,000. This is a typical bubble stock where you see these high PE ratios. You see everyone rushing into the stock just because it's going up. They have a cool product, and there's a lot of hype around their name. So that's what got everyone into the stock, and so that's where we are now. And that's being said, I almost never would short these kind of companies that are clearly in a bubble with a PE of 1,000, because they could always easily keep going up. You know, right now it's at a PE of 1,000. Is a PE of 1,200 or 1,500 any crazier? And the answer is no. And so you can't really use logic with these situations, because the only thing moving the stock right now is people getting greedy, seeing it go up and wanting to have a part of that. Now eventually it's going to end. I made a bet thinking it's going to end sooner rather than later, but I could be wrong. So here are the reasons why I think that over the next 3 to 4 weeks, we'll see a huge collapse in the price of Nikola stock. So last week, Nikola filed a Form S1, and what this form is they are registering new shares. So like it says, this prospectus relates to the issuance of up to an aggregate of 23,890,000 shares. And we also see up to 53 million shares of common stock and up to over 23 million of common stock issuable through exercise of warrants. And so here's what I think is going to happen. A couple of weeks ago, I made a video talking about the difference between the Nikola warrants and the Nikola stock price and how there was a disconnect between the two. And what I said in that video was it doesn't make sense, because you could buy the warrants and then easily exercise them and sell them right away to make a huge profit, which usually isn't possible to do with stocks and make that huge of a profit. And the problem with doing that back then was that you couldn't actually exercise the warrants yet. There was a lockup period where you had to wait before you exercised the warrants, but the thing is now that lockup period is about to end. On July 3rd, everyone who has a warrant can instantly exercise them and receive shares. And so that's what I think is going to happen. I think we're going to see everyone who holds a warrant exercise the warrants, get the shares, and then they see a huge profit, and so they're going to end up selling their shares. And that's not the only thing. The other thing is the issuance and sale of 52 million shares of common stock for a price of $10. And these are from the original PIPE investors who were the first ones to invest in this stock. So that means those investors get these shares at $10. And when you look at the stock price now, the stock price is at over $60. So here's the thing. When these PIPE investors were expecting to get their shares in the future, they were expecting to get them at maybe a slight discount, but nothing like this. They were probably expecting the shares to be worth anywhere from $12 to maybe $15, and they would be able to purchase it at $10. And that's part of the reason they were these early PIPE investors. But now, when the price is so high at $63, you get a stock at $10 and it's instantly worth $63. What do you think a lot of these investors are going to do? I think a ton of them are just going to sell right away because they were never expecting the stock price to go up this much, at least in the next 10 to 20 years. So why not just sell it now if the price is already there? And so that, I think, creates two huge groups of people that are about to sell all of their shares of Nikola stocks. You have the people that own the warrants on July 3rd, and then you have these PIPE investors who are getting the shares at a price of $10 and can sell them instantly. And this amount of shares is a huge amount compared to the number of shares outstanding for Nikola. If we take a look back at the prospectus, there's 53 million shares of common stock and an additional 23 million of the warrants. And so you put those together, that's around 75 million shares that are newly issued that I think the majority of them will be sold right away. And so when you compare that to the shares outstanding, which is around 360 million, we can take a look. That is around 20% of Nikola's shares outstanding that I think could be sold right when they're able to, which is right around July 3rd. And so when you have huge selling pressure like that, what's going to happen to the stock? The stock's going to go down, obviously, because in the short term, prices of stocks is just supply and demand. When you have more demand, the stock goes up, and when you have more supply, the stock goes down. And when you see a huge influx of supply like we're about to, and not enough demand to be buying up those shares at these high prices, we're going to see the stock price tank. And I think that's just going to be the first part of it. And the second part is I think all of these inexperienced beginner traders that got into the stock because they saw it going up are going to see that, and then they're going to start panic selling their shares, which is just going to bring the stock price all the way back down. When you think about who bought Nikola stock, who actually bought this and is planning to hold it for 20 or 30 years? Probably not many people. Most people saw it going up, they bought it, and they're expecting to get a quick profit from it. And when they see it start to go down, they're just going to sell it and cut their losses or lock in whatever gains they have. So these are people that bought the stock because it was going up. So if it starts going down, they're going to sell it because it's going down. That's how it works to them. And so I think those two things is going to result in a massive crash in Nikola stock price. So that's my thesis for why I think I should go short on Nikola. Again, might not work out. With these stocks, it could always go up. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it just kept going up and my investment became worthless with my short position. And that is a risk I'm willing to take, even though I acknowledge this is extremely risky, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if my investment got wiped out. So now we're going to talk about how exactly I went about shorting Nikola stock and what exactly I bought to be able to profit from Nikola stock going down and what my potential profit could look like. So I did not sell short Nikola shares. I don't think I've ever sold short shares of a stock just because the risk to reward isn't really there. Every dollar that the stock goes up is more money that you lose. What I'd rather do is buy a put option on Nikola because that allows me to profit when the stock price goes down, but it limits my risk. I know exactly how much I'll lose no matter how much Nikola keeps going up. And so that's why I prefer put options. So there's a couple parts. For the date, I chose July 17th for a couple of reasons. I think this gives me enough time after the lockup period ends to begin to see all the selling happen. And it is also the monthly contract. So those usually have better volume than the weekly contract. And so that's why I got in. For the strike price, I bought a put option with the $22.50 strike price, and we'll take a look at the risk to reward graph in a second. And so I'll put up the image right now. I bought it on Robinhood, and I bought it on Friday. I bought it at 70 cents, and by the end of the day, it was up to 80 cents. So now let's take a look at the risk to reward. I'm using Thinkorswim right now, the platform by TD Ameritrade, and I use this for options because they give you a graph and it lets you plot out exactly what your risk and reward looks like. So right now is today, 628. And the break-even price right now is around $65.30. So that means if the stock is below that, then you'll be profitable on this option. And right now the stock is below that. It's around 63, I think. So right now this is profitable for me. Now here's the thing. The thing is there's going to be a lot of time decay with this option. So I'm not planning on holding this option till expiration. Instead, I'm planning on selling it around 7 to 10 days before the expiration. That way I'm able to take advantage of the price drop without the option losing too much of its value. And so we can take a look at the calendar. This is of July. The option expires on July 17th, and the lockup period for the warrants and the stocks is on July 3rd. So I'm probably planning on selling it probably around the 7th, the 8th, or the 9th. That Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday is really when I expect to see a huge price drop in Nikola, and that is when I should be able to sell this option for a nice profit. Now we're going to take a look at what price Nikola has to be in by those dates for me to be profitable. So for example, let's go to July 7th. And the break-even price on July 7th is around $44. So if Nikola stock is below $44 on July 7th, that means I will be profitable on this option. Now going back to the price, where do I think price will be? I think the price has the potential to be around $30 by that time. It would be around a 50% drop from here. But again, like I said, the extra supply of all of these shares being dumped on these novice traders that are going to sell when they see it going down, I think it has the potential to crash very fast, even faster than it went up. And so if we did see that, if we saw on July 7th the price of Nikola stock was $30, I'd make around $173 on this option. And remember, I paid $70 for it. So doing the math, that's almost a 240% profit from this play. And the best part about options is your risk is limited. I spent $70 for this option. No matter how much Nikola stock goes up, the most I can lose is $70. So right now I'm risking $70 to make potentially $173. That's a pretty good risk to reward for me. And so that's why I'm entering into this option. Again, we could always see the price go down more than that. And if we did, the more the price goes down, the more the option becomes worth. And just keep in mind, if you did hold this to expiration, which is July 17th, the break even falls a lot. The break even is around $21.60, which I don't know if it'll get down that far. So that's why I'm not planning on holding this to expiration. And this is a strike price that is way out of the money right now. So just keep in mind, this is very unlikely to expire in the money. So I'm not planning on holding this. I'm planning on selling it. Again, like I said, July 6th, 7th, 8th, around there for a profit. So that's explaining what I'm doing to short Nikola stock. Again, this is just what I'm doing with an amount of money I'm prepared to lose. Do not take this as a recommendation. I think there's a good risk to reward with this trade, but again, I don't know how it's going to turn out. It could very well turn out that Nikola stock just keeps going up despite all of this. I could be wrong, and then the option would expire worthless. So keep that in mind. Make sure you really understand options if you want to do anything with options. If you don't know anything that I just said, this is probably not something for you to do. And so that's it. I will definitely be making an update video to this to see how this trade played out. Again, this is something I do not very often. I am a long-term investor that focuses on undervalued stocks, but when I see an opportunity to make money like this, I'll usually jump on it with a small percentage of my portfolio. So if you learned something from this video, if you like this idea, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, hit the little bell icon to get notified whenever I upload a video, and I'll see you on the next video.